It's the urban phenom, dropping lyrical bombs. Niggas got heart, but no chin. Amir Khan, always ready for war. I don't have to turn it on. I'm the best at what I do, and that's just being me. The devil's a lie.
Alright folks, the wait is over. We finally have the Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao bout upon us. It's been a long road. I didn't think we was gonna get here, but we did. But I'm gonna keep it real. This fight isn't as important and big to me as it could have been back in 2010, 2011. I feel both fighters have fallen off slightly. We don't have the two prime, unstoppable forces in the boxing world that we had before. Right now, we have two elite fighters who are A-level opponents that are a little past their prime, but still serviceable. Beyond serviceable, because right now they would beat anybody and be favored against anybody in their division, which is the welterweight 147-pound division. So yeah, the bout lost a little of its steam because neither fighter is in their prime. Nobody looking untouchable, invincible anymore, but it's still a good, solid fight. It's still the biggest fight since the beginning of time and in modern civilization. So we here. But I will say this, the overall promotion for this bout has been real lacking. I think the pay-per-view sales will reflect that in the end, because the potential is there to get 4 or 5 million sales, real talk. But I think that would happen if we'd had like a nationwide tour. You have better production values on the damn bullshit commercial. You got YouTube promo videos that look better than that damn commercial they set up. And if the fight was announced earlier, like back in damn beginning of January this year, they could have really went hard with promoting it the first month and then got back to training. Because these guys ain't really beefing with each other. They just sports rivals. They know of each other, and their fans know of each other, and there's animosity between their camps. Like Rhodes and Mayweather Senior, and you got Ariza. There's a whole bunch of fuckery involved, but the fans didn't get to see that interaction. They didn't get to see these guys square off multiple times and really crash each other's fights and press conferences. We didn't really get to see that interaction. So it's kind of like the fans kind of been like excluded in this fucking fight. And then there's been no press conference where the fans were invited. They blocked that off. It was for the media. I already mentioned that bullshit commercial. They're fighting in MGM Grand, which is the boxing capital of the world, which is cool. But, you can't really fit too many people in there like a Dallas stadium where you can fit 100,000 people or 75,000 people, and you could actually have fans actually make it there and don't have to watch it in some fucking MGM affiliated bar. It's not shown in theaters. I don't know if the Avengers 2 release has something to do with that, because I know that's going to take up some screens. But just overall, I just feel like these niggas just is on some like, well, y'all been wanted to fight, so here it is. Shut the fuck up and be happy. And, I ain't really feel that approach. It's kind of like that fine-ass chick in high school you had that you stay tried to get with her, stay tried to holler at her, get the numbers, whatever. And, she just shuts you down. She don't give you no action, no play. And then one day after high school, like 3-4 years later, you run into her at Walmart or fucking the corner store, and she kind of lost her looks. She ain't banging like she used to be. She still look alright, she still could get it, but now she's open to your advances. Now she's ready for you to game her up and talk to her and shit and see what's good. And at that point, a part of you is a little over it, and I feel like deep down, a lot of people are kind of over it. It's just now we're like waiting for it to happen. So fuck it, it's happening. You know what I mean? $100 is a steep price, but you already knew the deal with these two. You know they was gonna jack that shit up for pay-per-view. And I think a lot of people just gonna team up and go to each other's houses to watch this shit. So I don't know, man. The promotion, all that shit, then the undercard garbage, but whatever, we here. Mayweather, it's not too much I have to say about this matchup because a lot of it's been said, and I pride myself on giving people a new outlook, new perspective on fights. I'm not one of these guys that makes a damn Floyd Mayweather video every time he sneezes. I'm not one of these guys that make a video about Pacquiao every time he takes a punch to the face or he loses some money gambling or with taxes or whatever. You know, I live for the sport, and that's everybody. So this is probably the most you're gonna even hear me talk about fucking Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, because a lot of people played that shit out. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just keeping it real, but it's cool. It's cool because everybody's entitled to their opinion. Nobody, is outright wrong in their opinion. It's just that some opinions are better than others. You got educated opinions, and then you got some dudes who talk about both fighters and they don't really know shit about boxing. And you can hear it. You know what I mean? This ain't attacking nobody. I'ma just keep it real because we all know people like that. I think both of their styles could be held for each other. You got the best defensive fighter in the game going against the best offensive fighter in the game. One of them has to break. I feel like Floyd, he could fight in more than one way. A lot of guys get caught up in him being defensive, but we seen him walk guys down and beat the shit out of guys. We seen Pacquiao walk dudes down, beat them up, but we seen him box and just outclass dudes. So, it's a good quality even matchup, and you know that shit. I'm just reiterating that shit. Mayweather is more skilled than Pacquiao, but I'm not gonna sit here and say it's by some huge margin because it isn't. It isn't. On a technical standpoint, yeah, Floyd is, but there's a lot of shit Pacquiao does that people don't give him credit for. And I'm gonna just, be honest, as boxing fans, and I try not to be guilty of this, but whenever we see a guy moving forward, throwing punches, for some reason people automatically think it doesn't take as much skill to do that as it is to box somebody on the back foot and be circling them with jabs and peppering them with right hands. That's why you'll have people who don't know shit about boxing, and they'll say shit like, Pacquiao, he can't box, just a slugger. Tyson, he can't box, just a slugger, brawler. Again, Brandon Rios can't box, he's a slugger. Roberto Duran can't box, slugger. Anybody who, throws punches coming forward and they got a little power, you automatically labeled as a guy who can't box, can't slug, can't do anything. You're just a slugger, mindless brawler, and a lot of stands, say that about Pacquiao. And just to clarify, stands, those are guys who, they're not necessarily fans of boxing. They're just fans of either like a certain fighter like Pacquiao or Mayweather. I don't get into this whole name calling, Flomo, Pactar, that bullshit. Because if you're a grown ass man and you discussing fights, you ain't gonna get into no bullshit names like that. You either a boxing fan or you a stan. That's it. Simple as that. So, then you got the other side of the coin where you got guys who look at Mayweather like, oh, he just runs. He runs. He fucking runs. But, he's outlanding dudes. He's nullifying your whole style. So everybody pretty much has their own preconceived notion about Pacquiao and Mayweather going into this bout. It just doesn't go out there on the extremes like the stands do, and that's what I'm trying to give you. I'm trying to give you a perspective from a fan who's a fan of both fighters. You know, I don't care about whoever wins. You know what I'm saying? I just want to see a good fight. You know, that's what we all want at the end of the day. As far as the fight itself playing out, I think the first 4 rounds is going to be like the real best part. It's going to mimic a little bit of Bradley Pacquiao, because if you remember Bradley Pacquiao, the rematch, they was going at it the first fucking half of that fight, bro. That second round was awesome. Like, these niggas was really throwing it. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be like a little shootout. And then they're going to fall into, okay, hold on. Let's box a bit. Let's slow it down. Let's not get carried away. And they're going to go into their plan B and maybe the plan C. But I think both guys have intentions on hurting the other guy. Floyd's been, you know, doing his old school strength training, chopping wood. Like he's trying to bulk up a little. He's hitting hard. Pacquiao, you know, his focus is a lot more acute than it is when he's going against guys like fucking Chris Algieri and these other cats. So, you know, both guys, you know, they're looking at knocking each other out or hurting the other guy. And I think that's what's going to help them win a decision or make their case for winning a decision. Because with these fucking judges, you never know. We've had some bad scorecards with both fighters recently, and I could see some shit like that going down if neither guy is really dominant. And I think some fuckery can happen. You know, it's been happening this whole last 5-6 years in regard to this fight. So that's gonna be like the icing on the cake. We know both fighters have certain moves or techniques that they use to nullify certain moves from opponents. You know, Floyd has the accurate laser right hand, you know, that could nullify a southpaw. But then Pacquiao has that left hand that he could nullify the conventional jab, where, you know, he throws and he ducks under, kind of like how the reverse of how like a conventional slips under the opponent's jab and throws that right. You see Hopkins does it a lot. James Toney used to do it a lot. And you see Floyd do it every now and then. Although you see him throw a variety of right hands. You know, he has a jab to the body. You know, that stab jab he uses. Then Pacquiao has a good counter right hook that he's developed. You know, so it's gonna be like a high-speed chess match. I can see the first half, you know, even going out into a little brawl. But Pacquiao, I think the footwork is the main and most important factor in this fight. If he could get his pivoting and footwork in and out on Mayweather, that increases his chances. And I'm talking about the vintage Pacquiao footwork. Like, you remember the fight with Clottey? And he was just all around Clottey. Like, Clottey tried to turtle up and do his Winky Wright impersonation, and man, he was just on the left side, right side, in front of him at an angle, just throwing all types of fucking punches. I don't think Pacquiao gonna throw those type of punch numbers again, but if he follows that type of game plan, you know, just being all over Mayweather but in and out and still try to box, I think Pacquiao has enough skills to hang with Mayweather in the boxing, you know, department if the fight goes that direction. Just like I think Mayweather has enough fighting spirit to last and hang with Pacquiao if the fight goes more into like a brawl fighting direction. Now, of course, a guy like Pacquiao, he relishes that moment, and just like Mayweather relishes, you know, the boxing, because, you know, that's when they're in their most control. So we're going to see a lot of, you know, back and forth. I think we're going to see a lot of back and forth ebb and flow with this fight. But I think both guys are going to end up nullifying each other's strength. And it's going to just really come down to who employs their skill better and who has the will on their side, who has the determination. Pacquiao, we've seen him in tough fights. We've seen him take punches, come back, and get more. We've seen Floyd have tough moments, but we haven't really seen Floyd have a real tough fight in a while. Cotto was a tough fight, you know what I mean? But I mean where a guy is really, he could get a victory out that shit. Like it's a tough, close fight. Like, okay. Like the last truly tough fight I feel Mayweather had was a rematch with Castillo. Because that fight was close up until the damn, I think it was Floyd really just pulled away, won that fight in the last 3 rounds of that fight. Before then, you know, it was close, it was competitive. And I feel Pacquiao is the first opponent that's going to really bring it to him like that. Cotto did, but Cotto was just landing mostly jabs and body shots. He wasn't really bringing that heat with the power shots. Maidana wasn't accurate enough to really bring it. He brought the aggression, but the accuracy, like, you can't beat a guy with Floyd with just being aggressive. You have to have some accuracy with it. You have to be able to land, you know, clean power shots. And Castillo actually did that. And he did it more than just one moment of the fight. Not like Shane Mosley, he landed 2 good shots and then that's it. You know, you get sunned the rest of the fucking match. So, you know, it's a real interesting fight. And you know that. Pacquiao, he's going to deal with a guy who's naturally bigger and who's a great counter puncher. I know a lot of people want to bring up the Marquez fights and the knockout. Dude, like, you're like so over that. I mean, if you box before, you know, if you spar someone enough, you get familiar with them enough, you're gonna eventually beat them or look good. And that's what happened with Marquez. See, the greatest advantage Pacquiao has over every fighter in the game, his style cannot be duplicated. No one can replicate it. No one really fights like him. And it's the element of surprise. People don't understand how important that is. The first time you fight a guy like Pacquiao, you don't know what type of mind fuck that could be. And Floyd Mayweather, he's a durable, he's a strong dude, but we don't know that. We don't know what the Pacquiao effect is gonna have on him. And the reason why I can't really say that about Mayweather is because we've had other great defensive boxers in the past. May not be as great as Mayweather as a boxing all-time great standpoint, but you know, they've been great defensive fighters out there. So in a way, if you fought one defensive guy, you kind of fought them all, you know, in a way. I'm not saying, because no 2 fighters are alike in this game, but cats have similar tendencies and habits. So I think Mayweather, he knows he has to do some big damage on Pacquiao, because if he moves too much, the judges might not give him them rounds. And if Pacquiao doesn't land enough clean punches on Mayweather, and it's looking like he's taking all the flashy hits, he know he might lose that round. So it's gonna be close, but at the end of the day, with all the fuckery involved, and the judges and the ref, and you know, the possibility of a rematch, my official prediction is gonna be a draw. Because honestly, I think there's 3 realistic outcomes. You could get a majority decision, you could get a split decision, and you could get a draw. I don't think a unanimous decision is that likely, unless somebody really dominates without a fucking doubt. I mean, talking about winning 9 or 10 rounds, maybe getting a knockdown, hurting, busting up a nigga face, all of that shit. And a KO, he's either gonna come through attrition, you know, somebody constantly getting hit, which I don't think that's gonna happen like that, or it's gonna come about with a punch that the person doesn't see coming, which is possible, but both of these guys are tough. I don't think I see either guy getting stopped by the other, but I do feel like they could hurt each other and stop each other. But with all the fuckery with the scorecards with both fighters, and Floyd not getting the benefit of the doubt in certain fights, and sometimes he's getting more than the benefit of the doubt in certain fights, I think we could just gonna see a draw. You know, they're gonna cancel each other out. It's gonna be a huge, you know, controversy, some type of bullshit. People are gonna be talking about it, and now the sport is gonna get kidnapped again until we get the fucking rematch. That's my prediction. That's my call. You know, I hope it's a good fight at the end of the day. Whether it's a draw or whatnot, I just want to see a good fight. You know, I think the fans want to see a good fight too. So Mayweather, Pacquiao, I'm predicting the draw. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Draws happen. I think this is the first one I've gone on record and actually predicted, but hey, let's see what happens. Swag Science. I'm out.